Alex stepped off the transport shuttle and onto the space station's docking platform, the metal beneath his boots humming softly with the station's power. The station floated silently above the purple-blue clouds of the alien planet below. From the observation deck, he could see the planet's swirling storms and shimmering cities that sparkled like scattered jewels. He had repaired ships in isolated corners of the galaxy before, but this station felt different, bigger, older, filled with a quiet energy that made him feel both anxious and alive. He adjusted the strap of his tool bag across his shoulder and took a deep breath. The mission was simple on paper: repair the navigation system of a research vessel that had been drifting due to technical failures, but he had learned long ago that simple rarely stayed simple in the universe. Every station had its own politics, every alien crew its own rules, and humans were always the minority in places like this. He shrugged to himself. He liked challenges. The main hall of the station was alive with movement. Aliens of different shapes and sizes wandered, haggled at kiosks, or moved purposefully toward their destinations. Some had smooth, glowing skin, others had scales or multiple limbs. It never ceased to amaze Alex how diverse life in the galaxy could be. Despite the differences, he noticed patterns. Every species had hierarchy. Every hierarchy had rules, and every rule had loopholes. He made his way to the housing terminal. Expecting to pick up a temporary room assignment? The interface beeped, flashing a message in bold letters: human quarters full. Temporary assignment: shared quarters with alien diplomat. Duration 14 standard cycles. Alex blinked at the screen. He had anticipated small accommodations, cramped spaces, maybe a view of the docking bay, but a shared room with a diplomat? That was not what he had in mind. He muttered under his breath, "This is going to be interesting." The terminal printed out a small access card. The instructions led him to a sleek hallway lined with reflective panels. He noticed the panels sometimes shifted images, showing news from distant systems, announcements of scientific discoveries or diplomatic treaties being signed. He could feel the presence of power in this place, a history of negotiations, decisions, and quiet battles fought behind closed doors. When he reached his quarters, the door slid open smoothly. The room was larger than he expected. One side had a bed and personal items for the alien occupant. The other side was more utilitarian, with a sleeping pod just large enough for a human. Between them was a console and a shared workstation. He paused, scanning the room. That's when he noticed her. Lyra was standing near the console, her posture rigid, but her eyes sharp and curious. She had pale lavender skin that shimmered faintly under the room's lights and long hair that glowed like silver threads. Her eyes were striking golden with flecks of light that made her seem as if she could see right into his mind. She turned her head slowly to look at him, and the air in the room seemed to shift. "You are the human?" she asked, her voice calm, yet carrying a tone of authority that immediately set Alex on alert. "Yes," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Alex, I'm here to repair the research ship's navigation system." She nodded once, without smile or any expression that could soften her words. "I am Lyra. I am responsible for diplomatic relations on this station for my people. You will not interfere with any protocols, understand?" Alex raised a hand slightly. "Understood. I only fix what needs fixing." For a moment, the room was silent, except for the hum of the station. Alex could feel her gaze on him, assessing, measuring, testing. He had faced strict alien officers before, but Lyra's presence was different. She carried a confidence, a quiet dominance that was impossible to ignore. He felt oddly drawn to her, though he would never admit it aloud, as the first evening passed. The awkwardness of shared space became apparent. Lyra moved with precision, never touching anything unnecessarily. Alex, on the other hand, unpacked his tools, setting them in a messy pile, adjusting his work schedule, and generally making the room feel human. Lyra's eyes followed him as if she could sense disorder at a glance. He caught her staring and quickly looked away, but a faint smirk tugged at her lips. The next day, Alex set to work on the research ship remotely from the station. The system was complex, with layers of alien programming that did not always follow logic humans used. He frowned as he traced faulty circuits and misaligned codes. A low hum ran through the room as he worked, punctuated by occasional warnings flashing across his console. Lyra watched silently. At one point, she stepped closer, tilting her head as she examined his approach. "You are using human methods," she observed, her voice quiet but firm. "I would have done it differently." Alex paused. Different doesn't mean better. Sometimes human improvisation works in ways standard procedure cannot predict. She studied him for a long moment, then inclined her head slightly, acknowledging his point. That brief interaction set a subtle shift in their dynamic. Respect began to grow, small and careful. Beneath the initial tension, over the following days, they faced a series of small crises. A minor breach in the station's life support required immediate repairs, forcing them to work together. Alex was impressed by Lyra's strategic mind. She analyzed every move, anticipating possible failures. Lyra, in turn, saw Alex's adaptability and courage. He didn't panic when alarms blared, he didn't hesitate when decisions had to be made in seconds, and he solved problems with ingenuity rather than force. One evening, after a particularly tense day involving a malfunctioning docking bay, the station was rocked by a sudden tremor. Alarms blared and lights flickered. Alex was reaching for his toolkit when he heard Lyra's voice sharp behind him. "Stay here." Before he could react, she grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the bed in their shared quarters. The room shook violently again, and a panel fell from the ceiling, landing near where he had been standing. She pressed herself against him, strong and steady, keeping him safe from the falling debris. For a few heartbeats, the world seemed to stop. The tremors rattled the station, but in that small room, it was just the two of them. Lyra's golden eyes locked with his, fierce yet strangely gentle. Then she leaned close, so close he could feel her breath, and whispered a single word, "Mine." Alex froze, unsure of what to say. The word was simple, but the weight behind it was immense. It was not anger, not possession in a cruel sense, but a claim of protection, of trust, of acknowledgement. His mind raced, trying to interpret the gesture, and yet he felt a strange warmth at the core of his being. The tremors subsided. Slowly, she released him, though her hand lingered at his shoulder. Neither spoke for a while, both still processing the intensity of the moment. Finally, Lyra straightened, her expression unreadable, and said, "You will need to adapt to station conditions quickly. Do not falter." "I understand," Alex replied, though his voice was softer than usual. The moment lingered in his mind. He could not shake it. The next few cycles passed, with both tension and unspoken curiosity building between them. They shared small routines, preparing meals from the station's nutrient dispensers, fixing minor mechanical issues, and navigating the quirks of alien technology. Each interaction deepened their understanding of each other. Lyra began to show small gestures of acknowledgement, allowing Alex to take lead in repairs, giving him access to areas normally restricted, and occasionally offering tips in a softer tone that suggested trust. Alex, for his part, learned to read her subtle expressions. A twitch of her lip, a tilt of her head, a narrowed gaze, all cues that told him more than words ever could. He began to admire her discipline, her intelligence, and the quiet intensity she carried. He also realized that he had never met anyone like her in his life. Humans were adaptable, clever, and resilient. But Lyra's presence challenged him in ways he had never experienced. One night, after another long day, Alex returned to their quarters exhausted. Lyra was already there, standing by the window gazing at the planet below. The view was breathtaking, storms swirling like liquid sapphire, lightning flashing in brilliant arcs across the clouds. He moved silently behind her, setting his toolkit down. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said softly. She did not turn, but her voice carried warmth. "Yes, and dangerous. Like everything in this galaxy." He leaned against the wall, watching her silhouette. "Sometimes danger is what makes life real." She finally turned, her golden eyes meeting his. For a moment, The station, the stars, and the galaxy beyond seemed to fade. He could sense her curiosity, her assessment, and he realized something like recognition. Something unspoken passed between them. A connection formed not by words, but by presence and shared experience. The night deepened, and they sat together in silence, the hum of the station around them. Alex felt a cautious hope rising within him. For the first time on this station, he was not just surviving. He was beginning to understand, to trust, and perhaps to belong. And somewhere deep in her gaze, Lyra's whispered mind no longer felt threatening. It felt like the beginning of something neither of them fully understood. Yet both were eager to explore outside. The stars blinked and shone. Silent witnesses to the start of a bond that would shape the fate of two very different beings in a galaxy full of unknown challenges. The morning light filtered through the observation window, painting the room in soft hues of silver and blue. Alex awoke to the hum of the station's engines and the faint scent of recycled air. Lyra was already awake, standing by the console and scanning the latest station updates. The gentle shimmer of her skin caught the light, making her look almost ethereal. Alex sat up, stretching and rubbing the sleep from his eyes. He had hardly slept the night before, his mind replaying the events from the tremor. Lyra's sudden closeness and her whispered word, "Mine." He shook his head slightly, trying to push away the thoughts. There was work to be done, and the research ship's navigation system still required repairs. He dressed quickly and grabbed his toolkit, glancing at Lyra one last time before leaving the room. By the time he reached the ship, the crew was already dealing with minor malfunctions caused by the station tremor. A small robotic assistant had lost control and was spinning in erratic circles, bumping into walls and equipment. Alex approached carefully, analyzing the circuits. "You handled that with ease," a familiar voice said behind him. Lyra stepped into the ship's corridor, her presence calm but commanding. She had followed him, observing rather than interfering. Alex looked at her and smiled faintly. "It's a simple override. Human improvisation." Lyra raised an eyebrow, her expression unreadable. "Improvisation is not a weakness here. Sometimes it's our greatest strength," Alex replied, connecting a few wires and stabilizing the robot. The device powered down, resetting itself with no further errors. Lyra's golden eyes flickered with approval. "I will remember this." Together, they moved through the ship, repairing damaged systems and recalibrating navigation protocols. Alex explained his reasoning aloud, sharing insights into human engineering principles. Lyra listened intently, occasionally offering suggestions that improved his methods. Their cooperation felt natural, almost effortless, as if their minds were learning to work in tandem. After hours of work, they paused in the ship's observation deck. The planet below rotated slowly, storms moving like ribbons of silver and violet. Alex leaned against the railing, feeling the tension of the day begin to fade. "You humans are persistent," Lyra said quietly, her gaze fixed on the planet. "Even when the odds are against you, you do not give up." Alex chuckled softly. "Persistence is survival. You learn fast or you disappear. Simple as that." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "And yet you do more than survive. You create, you improve, you adapt in ways that defy expectation. It is admirable." He felt a flush rise in his cheeks. Compliments from Lyra were rare, precious. "Thanks. That means a lot coming from you." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert. Red lights flashed across the deck, accompanied by a shrill warning siren. Alex moved quickly to the console, scanning the systems. "An unauthorized signal is attempting to access the docking bay," he reported. "Someone or something is trying to take control." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Rogue AI?" Alex shook his head. "Worse. This is clever. It's trying to override station protocols while masking its source." Together, they raced toward the docking bay. The corridor lights flickered as they arrived to see the massive doors slowly opening despite the station's lockdown procedures. A series of cargo drones, controlled remotely, were attempting to bypass security. Alex set to work, manually overriding the system, while Lyra coordinated the security measures. The drones moved with precision, but Alex's quick thinking allowed him to reroute power, creating a temporary blockade. Lyra dispatched station guards efficiently, keeping the intruders contained. Hours passed in tense coordination. Sweat beaded on Alex's forehead as he traced the rogue signal, isolating it and shutting it down. Lyra's presence was constant, her guidance precise, her instincts sharp. For the first time, Alex truly appreciated the depth of her skill. She was not only a diplomat, but a tactician, capable of anticipating every move. When the last drone powered down, they stood together in the docking bay, breathing heavily. The crisis was over, but the adrenaline still surged through their veins. Alex glanced at Lyra, seeing a rare softness in her eyes. "You did well," she said, her voice low. "I underestimated you." Alex allowed himself a small smile. "We did well. Together." Her lips curved slightly in acknowledgement. "Yes, together." As they walked back to their quarters, the weight of the day settled on them. The station was quiet again, the alarms silenced, the threat contained. Alex felt a mix of relief and exhilaration. He realized that danger, when faced with someone he trusted, could also be a source of connection, back in their shared quarters. The room felt warmer, less clinical than before. Lyra moved to the window, gazing at the planet below. Alex followed, standing beside her. "You were brave today," she said after a moment. "More than humans usually are," shrugged, trying to appear modest. "I didn't have a choice. And besides, I had good help." Lyra glanced at him, her golden eyes studying his face. "Good help?" she repeated, her voice softer, almost teasing. "Yes," Alex said firmly. "We covered each other." Quiet understanding passed between them. In that simple exchange, Alex realized that Lyra's earlier whisper "mine" had been more than a protective instinct. It had been the first thread of a bond that was forming between them, one built on trust, mutual respect, and unspoken acknowledgement of each other's worth. Night fell over the station, casting long shadows through the corridors. Alex was about to settle into his sleeping pod when Lyra appeared in the doorway. She stood there for a moment, silent, her posture relaxed, but her presence commanding. "I want to show you something," she said simply. Curiosity piqued, Alex followed her to the observation deck. The station's exterior was bathed in starlight, and the planet below was alive with color and motion. Lyra pointed toward a distant cluster of stars. "Those stars marked the path of a trade convoy," she explained. "If we are lucky, we can observe alien trading protocols firsthand. It is enlightening." Alex nodded, fascinated. "Lead the way." He spent hours watching the convoys, noting patterns in the way different species negotiated, the signals they used, and the careful strategies behind their exchanges. Lyra explained nuances that Alex would never have noticed alone. He shared human insights that surprised her, ideas and tactics that she admitted were clever. By the time they returned to their quarters, the connection between them had deepened. They moved with ease around each other, the tension from the early days replaced with mutual understanding. The room no longer felt like shared space, but like a small world where two minds could meet. Lyra sat on her side of the bed, gesturing for Alex to sit beside her. He hesitated for a moment, then complied. She studied him for a long moment, her eyes unreadable, before finally speaking. "The galaxy is dangerous," she said softly, "and unpredictable. I trust few, but I trust you." Alex felt a warmth spread through him. "I trust you too," he replied. "You saved my life more than once. I'd do the same for you." Her hand moved slightly, brushing against his in a tentative gesture. It was a small, simple movement, but it carried weight. Alex met her gaze, understanding the meaning. It was not just physical contact. It was acknowledgement, promise, a bond. Lyra leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You are mine, Alex. Not because I claim, but because I choose to trust." Alex's heart raced, a mixture of surprise and relief. "I understand. And I choose to trust you too, Lyra." They sat in silence, the hum of the station surrounding them. Outside, the stars blinked, distant and eternal. But inside, there was a quiet universe of their own making. Trust, courage, and connection had formed a bond that neither technology nor distance could break. The following days passed in a rhythm of work, exploration, and quiet companionship. Alex continued to repair and optimize the research ship, while Lyra guided him through the complexities of the station's political and technological environment. Their cooperation became seamless, a dance of intellect, intuition, and mutual respect. During one evening, a minor emergency forced them to evacuate part of the station's lower decks. Fires had broken out due to a short circuit in an experimental lab. Alex and Lyra worked side by side, directing crews, sealing breaches, and ensuring that no one was left behind. Each challenge strengthened their bond. They relied on each other instinctively, anticipating moves and supporting one another without hesitation. By the end of the week, the station captain formally commended them for their efficiency and courage. Alex had earned respect not only from the alien crew, but also from Lyra's people, a rare achievement for a human. Lyra's acknowledgement came in a quiet moment later that evening. "You have changed my perception of humans," she admitted, her voice carrying a note of genuine admiration. "You are clever, brave, and persistent. I am glad you are here." Alex smiled, a mixture of pride and warmth. "And I'm glad I met you, Lyra. The galaxy would be a lot less interesting without you in it." She inclined her head, a small smile forming at the corner of her lips. "Perhaps," she said softly, "and perhaps this is only the beginning." They stood together, looking out at the swirling storms of the alien planet below. In that moment, Alex understood that the galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges. But with trust, courage, and connection, even the most dangerous places could become opportunities for growth and understanding. And as the stars twinkled,